Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being on that side. We are still 10 minutes away, or 9 minutes to 7 p.m. in Portugal on the 9th of December. Well, let me know if the sound is good, if you can understand me. And, let me know if this is working well. Would be good to have your feedback while Frederick Black Connects is going to be our moderator this evening. Well, we want to test that everything is fine. You let me know, please, what you think about this. Can you all hear me? Hey, hello everyone. Hey Ben, not really. Well, the sofa is here. It's down in the cellar already for a few years. We put it here because we had a very hot summer in one of those days that it was so hot upstairs, and we were here with a client from the US, and he said, "Why don't we go down to the cellar, which is at least at like 17 degrees?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's a good idea." So we set up the tables and the chairs and everything, and then after that tasting, I said, "Well, we should have a comfortable sofa down here in the cellar, so we can, receive people, and we have tastings with more people if some want to rest and while we are talking and explaining about the ports." And in the end, I realized that people are now taking our colleagues, my colleagues, are taking a nap here in the couch sometimes. I have just taught them during the lunch break, which is great. It's another good use for this sofa. It doesn't have to be only for visitors. It can be for ourselves. Yeah, but no cigar for me, Ben. No cigar for me. Is the sound good? Last time we did it here, which was probably a year and I don't know, half, 1 year and a half ago, we had a bit of an echo. And today I'm with like the plugs to see if it goes smoother. Yeah, today's gonna be a super geeky tasting. I guess that we will not have that many people, as today is for real experts. But the good thing is that this video is gonna stay available and people can. Thank you, Ben. People can watch it at any time. So we are now we've crossed the time of 7 p.m. and I'm gonna start. So my name is Oscar Quevedo. On the other side, moderating this the chatting section is Frederick Blair, a colleague of ours, and we are going to do a very special tasting tonight. It's the first time ever that we are going to taste with consumers Garrafeira ports. It was the first time we put this in bottle was probably about 2 months ago. We decided to give them 2 destinations to our 90 ml bottles of Garrafeira port. This is actually the Colheita. 2 destinations. One, which was the prestige advent calendars that we started last year and that this year were very demanded by our clients a little bit all over in Canada, in UK, in Germany, in Denmark, even in Japan, in Switzerland as well. So we put the Garrafeira in those prestige calendars, and we also decided to do, a taste at home that, the vintage wine port has been doing with us, has been helping promoting it through their website. And I know that we may have some audience from the Netherlands, also from Denmark, and most of you are based in the UK. And this idea of doing the Garafeira very close to Christmas, it's to let us explore a new dimension of ports that has been developed, kind of created by several port houses about 100 years ago, but only Newport decided to preserve it for many years and has been doing an amazing job bringing probably 2 handfuls of Garrafeiras since during the last half century. It has been until 2011 that, or since 2011, that was bottled as Garrafeira legally, on a legal perspective of the Port Wine Institute. Until then was more of a preach port, and it was created for the 1977 Newport. In 2014, we had a visit of Mr. Roy Hirsch, very well-known and respect port lover based in Seattle, that soon is going to move to Porto. And we bottled the first Garrafeiras in our family. We bottled a 2000 Garrafeira and we bottled a 1994. The 2000 Garrafeira is coming from a Balseiro, and while the 1994 is coming from cask. And this piece of information is very important to help us understand the tasting directions that we will see when we get to the tasting. And we had to wait for 7 years. They were aging in these demijohns. This is about 20 liters. It's a very old piece. It doesn't have any mark from the manufacturer. They are quite imperfect, like rough. And I had to drive down to Lisbon to buy it from a collector that was kind of cleaning his closets. And we also had a lot of these 15 liters, and this is a bit more round. They are also old, very old. There's no indication of manufacturer also in the bottom. This I like a lot this shape. It looks almost like a drop. It's like a sphere, in the end, very, very round. Well, we decided not to put it in 750 ml bottles yet. They are an exclusive of Prestige Advent calendars and 2021. So for next year is going to be something different. And also an exclusive of this tasting today, where you guys are on the other side. So, you know that all this work has been done by my sister in terms of winemaking. She's the winemaker of the family since 1999. So 2000 was produced by her, but not the 1994. That one was still made by my father. Claudia, she has been here maybe until 15, 20 minutes ago. She asked me, do you need help with anything? I said, well, if you want to be here in front of the camera, I said, no. For that, you don't need any help. So she quickly left, and yeah, but one day I'm sure that she's going to be here in front of us in the camera. Let me quickly read the chat section to see if we have any question that we should assess now. You just keep dropping those questions whenever you want, and then I'll try to answer them when I have the opportunity. Let me see here. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so that's a good question, Phil, actually, and no problem of being late. This why 94 and why 2000? To me, 94 is one of the best ports that we still have in stock. We still have aging in our cellar, and I always thought about that as it's a must be in our Garrafeira. It should age in a Garrafeira because it has been aging so well in cask that it has to go to the demijohn. And the 2000, the reason was more of it was the port, this specific port, that was asking for that, was begging for that. The 2000 has such a concentration still that it really deserves to be under this experiment of a demijohn. And that's why we decided to put a very solid port from a fantastic year such as the 94 and another port from a very good year, 2000, but still, you know, intense with a lot of things going on. So then you could compare what happens after these 7 years in the demijohn. And well, I mean, 7 years for the bottling that we did a couple of months ago, but we still have a few other demijohns aging in our cellar towards that direction under the stairs, and covered with a newspaper, so the UVs don't really go through the glass. Well, my suggestion for you, you guys get 4 glasses, port glasses or bigger wine glasses, really up to you. I have a spittoon here, which I don't think you will need, but I have been tasting already almost the whole afternoon, and you can see that my teeth are already tainted. So I'll spit at least at the beginning. I'm going to spit. And do we need any? We don't need anything else. I don't think so. In the previous tastings, sometimes we had liquid measures, so we could do the blends, but that's not the case for today. So I think we could start with the 2000 Colheita versus the Garrafeira. So my suggestion is that we pour these two into the glasses, into these 2 glasses, and then we'll see the differences. So on my right is the Colheita. And on my left is going to be the Garrafeira. 2000, both from 2000. I have here actually a white table, a white metal table, and I think it's very important for you to get also a white background, maybe just A4 piece of paper, so you can clearly see the differences in color. This is very, very important to be precise and to be detailed about the evolution, so we can compare the evolution in the demijohn and the evolution in the oak. For the 2000, we have this balseiro. For the 94, we're going to have the cask. But I think it's very interesting that you get a clear white background, so we can project the colors into it and see their differences. I would say that the Garrafeira has a little darker, more ruby color, which makes sense. It preserved that darker color, the ruby color, for longer. You know that what happens in the casks or in the balseiros in oak is that the air goes through the pores of the wood, the oak, and it's going to change the color. It's going to oxidize the color, and that oxidation, that very slow oxidation, in the end is going to change the color towards from a red color towards a brown orange brick color. And if you leave it for more than 4 or 5 decades, you start to see some greenish hints around the ring of the glass. And if they are matured in bottle, that red color is going to stay for much longer. We are going to see those notes of the ruby Bordeaux color. They will get lighter and lighter, but they stay red. They stay more towards like a light, what would be a pomegranate color, a light red color, they will take many decades to go into the browns. While with the tawnies aging in barrel, they age much faster. After a decade, you already have a clear brown color that is shown. If it's maturing in cask, if it ages in balseiro, then it's going to take a little bit more years to get that brown color. Happy birthday, Bridget, by the way, and welcome. Thank you for making it. I hope that you enjoy. I hope that you like this birthday present. What about the flavor now? The differences between in the nose of the Garrafeira and the Colheita. I see the Garrafeira like in the like the color it has, as the color also had that redder ruby color, and then in the nose we also have those fruit notes, dark fruits, some also dry fruit like I would say dry plums or dry figs, but it's definitely on a more on a rubier profile rather than on a tawny profile. This interruption of the aging in oak help to preserve the freshness. While in the Colheita, we see more, or we can smell more of the influence of the oak in the sense of nuttiness, maybe some nuttiness or some yeah, kind of a bit of tobacco or maybe even like tea notes. But I agree with the wine mojo. The Garafeira is definitely fresher than the Colheita. Let's taste it now. It maintains that what the nose is telling us. It's that fruitier note, the sweeter touch, with the tannins being more active, more present, with a nice finish, which is actually quite long. You know that in terms of a family style, house style, we are not big fans of very sweet ports. So Claudia has been setting the sugar, the residual sugar for our ports at around 90 grams, while the average from other producers is more towards 100, 110. And once I asked my grandfather why was our style is like drier style, and he told me something that I will definitely never forget. And maybe some of you have already heard this before, but apologies for repeating myself. He told me, if you believe in your grapes, if you believe in your fruit, you don't need so much sugar. The sugar works like a makeup, and let the sugar go down. So ferment your grapes for a little bit longer, and you're going to have a lower residual sugar and more expression of the fruit and more expression of the taste of your grapes and your port. And we have respect that since always. We really like this approach, and even sometimes people are more used to sweeter ports. We like to preserve and to stay in that direction of a drier style of port. Yes, there is also a 2019 vintage port. I have my bottle in there. We will get there later. If you want, I have we have tasted the 2019 vintage port also about a few weeks ago, but I thought that we should put the focus on this Garrafeira versus Colheita, and then if you guys want, we can touch that later. Yeah, in the Colheita, in the 2000 Colheita, we have and let me put here the what we are tasting in case someone just shows up. In the so on left Colheita 2000 and on the right Garrafeira 2000. Which for you? Yeah, it may have. Yeah, it happened. Yeah, you see it different way. Sorry, left and right is my right and left. Whatever. We first tasted the Garrafeira 2000, and then the Colheita 2000, and now we are with the Colheita 2000. And I find the Colheita 2000 towards that tawny comfort zone. It's still a lot of things going on, fresh notes still going on in there, some fruit notes, but it also has this almond and almost walnut aroma going on. The caramel notes are starting to show up, and maybe even a tiny touch of the vinagrinho, what we call in Portuguese vinagrinho, which is when the volatile acidity starts to go up and it emphasizes more of the flavors and the aromas. You can taste also a bit oak notes. You can definitely feel that it was aged in oak for longer than what the Garrafeira was aging in. So let me know. Share with me your questions. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions about these two ports. It's my time now to relax and watch you guys sharing those on the chat. Yes, that's a good question, Zach. Maybe I did not assess it properly. Yes, Julian, please, yeah, share your tasting notes. So going back to Zach's question about, so are these wines the exact same blend, just stored differently? Yes, they are exactly the same ports. The Colheita was aging for about 20 years. I cannot be precise. It can be 19, it can be 18, it can be 20 years in a balseiro, which is a big oak bin, which I'm going to show you. There it is. Bang, bang. Just change this here. Yep, those here. While the Garrafeiras, they were aging in demijohn, which is a big glass container. Big, I mean about 15 to 20 liter glass container, such as this one here. So this is for the Garrafeira. It has to age. So the first 13 years of the Garrafeira were in the big oak bins, while the last 7 years were passed in this glass container, in this demijohn. That's the Garrafeira. The Colheita aged for the almost 20 years since it was produced in 2000. It aged in those oak bins, in the balseiros. And the balseiros are bringing more oxygen, and it changes more the color and the flavor of the port, while the the Garrafeira, it has that oxygen exposure for 13 years, but at some point in 2014 we moved to glass, and it only had this contact with a cork, and the cork just basically blocks the oxidation process of the oxidative process. 80% of the cork is oxygen, so there's a bit of a migration from the cork to the port, but that's really tiny compared to oak. And this is for 2000. The 1994, which is the second flight, the 1994 aged always in small casks like those behind me, and these are about 600 liters, and because of that, they were exposed to more oxygen. As we have a smaller bin, a smaller container, the exposure to the surface is bigger compared to the volume inside, so we have more oxygen going on and the port ages faster. We did the same procedure in 2014. We put it in one of these. They actually aged in either ones. We had the 2094 aging either in these and as in other ones. So we put them in the demijohns, and we are now tasting the same original ports, just aged in different containers from two different vintages. I hope this was clear. Let me know otherwise, please, Zach. I think you should post usually the tasting notes for sure. Yeah. Before we get to the compare the 94 Colheita and 94 Garrafeira, question from Tony from Vintage Wine and Port, the man behind all this taste at home, and to whom I have to say big thank you. We do use different brandies for different types of port. We use a specific brandy for our rosé port that we are using more and more into the white port as well. Very delicate, almost no flavor at all, and relatively light on the palate. Then we use a more full-bodied and high-quality brandy for the vintage port. It is also neutral, very fresh towards like apple notes, what would be almost sake notes on the nose, but very, very round and smooth on the palate. And then we use a third brandy for all the other ports, which it's not as full-bodied as the one that used for the vintage port, but it's also a good quality, and it keeps that fresh apple profile that my sister likes a lot. So, question from Bridget: would it be true to say that, roughly speaking, Garafeira is it were between a vintage and a Colheita? Yeah, that's exactly how I would define it, Bridget. I would say yes, it's in between a Colheita and a vintage port. Yeah. That's an interesting question, Flash. So, would you get roughly same Garafeira outcome by setting a 13-year-old Colheita aside for 7 years in bottle? I would say no. And no, why? Because the size of the glass container matters, and it matters a lot. These tiny bottles of 90 ml are great to experience, to taste a small portion, but they are not very good to age port. The port is not going to age in amazing conditions, not going to develop further by being in this bottle. So a 75 centiliters or a 750 milliliters is better than this size to age. But even better than that is this 10-liter demijohn. And even better is this 18-liter demijohn. So as they get bigger, the area in contact with the exterior is still the same. It's just one cork. So we are going to reduce the exposure to oxygen, and it's going to preserve fresher for longer. And that's what we want to discover also with this tasting, is that do we really prefer our port aged in demijohn, or would you just prefer to leave it in oak bin, like in a cask or in the balseiro for much longer? That's what we will want to discover tonight. But in my opinion, it's not the same thing. It's not at all the same. Very interesting, Julian, to share your preferences, and I can totally understand that. Zach, why is the Garrafeira so ruby-like? It's because we interrupt the oxidative process that was happening in oak, where the air goes through the pores of the wood and changes the color and the flavors and the aromas to oxidative, from these primary notes to an oxidative notes. And putting it in the demijohn just interrupts that process. And if that process stops, we are going to preserve more of the primary notes, of the ruby-like notes that we would lose if it would stay in the cask or in the balseiro. I totally agree, Ben. Magnums are much better than bottles. Absolutely. Yeah, Julian. Yeah, Magnums are. That's Mr. Churchill? No, a quote that he says something like, "Magnum is the perfect size for two if one of them is driving or doesn't like the wine." Is that the quote? Cool. So are we ready for the second flight? 94 Garrafeira to 94 Colheita? I hope so. And then you can revisit the Garrafeira, which is the Garrafeira 2000, if you want to compare the Garrafeira 2000 with the 94 Garrafeira. Yep. So Garrafeira here, and the Colheita on the other side. Fred, am I forgetting to say something? Let me read now. Fred shares by phone the notes or the suggestions for me to touch some themes that I sometimes forget. Yeah, two interesting points from Fred before we get into 94. The first, which is we open a few of these demijohns. We have others aging, and our idea is to let them age for much longer. They are going to change less than the Colheita, but they are definitely going to change, and we want to see in which direction and what is going to happen. So we will be very patient with these Garrafeiras. We have no plans to open it again. So we will be able to compare the Garrafeira decanted in or bottled in 2021 to another bottling in 2025, for instance. And the second question from the second mention from Fred or the second suggestion for Fred is that we talk about the aging experience. And the aging experience is something that covers, it's a bit complicated, but it covers different closures for the same bottle and the same port, which is cork, natural cork, plastic cork, and the screw cap. And we have been seeing with our experiment that the cork is still the best closure to age the port, but it definitely transmits. It definitely let some oxygen migrate to the port. So that is what we get in our Garrafeira, and as we have a bigger size, that migration of oxygen is lower as the demijohn, the container, gets bigger. I hope this was not too complicated and you guys are still there and connected. Or maybe you're just drinking it, which is not a bad idea at all. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see. So 94 Garrafeira on my left and 294 Colheita on my right hand side. I was just realizing that as the microphone is very close to my mouth, sometimes you may hear me spitting, which is not definitely the nicest thing. So apologies for being gross. Sorry. Color. Check the color first of the Garrafeira versus the Colheita, and we will get to the same conclusion. The 94s are much more into the brown side, the tawny notes, but they definitely have the Garrafeira has a darker tawny color compared to the Colheita. So the interruption of the aging process and by putting them in the demijohn also preserve or maintain the darker color, while the cask just kept it aging for a bit longer and getting it lighter in terms of the brown color. I think that in the Garrafeira 94 we have more of the tawny notes, but still a bit of those fruit notes that we could find in the 2000 Garrafeira, and they are coming like primary notes from the young port. That fruitier note, it's also one present on the palate, and I find it with a bit more of a more present, more tense tannin. The tannins are a bit more, marked. They are giving more volume, a bit of a roughness as well, but definitely keeping it very tense and somehow giving us the hope that this port is going to age for many years still. Now the Colheita 94. This one has definitely that character of a tawny. The dry fruits are more present. The caramel touch, those almost going towards how do you call it? Butterscotch. And on the palate, we can feel a more round and mellow taste compared to the Garrafeira, which has more. It's more alive. It's more lively. It's more active. It's more intense, I would say. So let me go through the chat section now to see if there any question that you guys share. Hi, Tony. Regarding a question about putting more ports aside for in demijohns, yes, we do plan to do that, and very soon. We hope that at the beginning of next year we do the next round. The idea is always to do this with people that come here, just visitors find a good excuse. Unfortunately, the situation is not letting us receive that many people. So, well, if I think you would be a great guest to come here and help us, bottling the demijohns. So, if you plan to visit as the Douro in the next 3 or 4 months, let me know and we set it up and we do this together. That's Phil's review. Interesting. Yeah, Jacob's question assessed by Frederick. How full? They are, yeah, like completely full. Full to the top, to the cork. We lose about 3.5 to 4.5% of port in the casks behind me of this 600. So twice a year we top up. So we have to top up with 15 liters, 20 liters, and during that period between the when we finish the top up until the next top up 6 months later, it slowly goes down and there's some oxygen inside, but once we top up to the top, really top up. Yeah, Phil, I think that the 94 it's a port that it has plenty of room for improvement, and that's why we have been very conscious about the releasing of the 94. We did bottle one cask this year, but I mean it's we have been very slow with the releasing of the 94. So especially because we believe that 94, 2000, 96 we also like a lot. For next year we plan to bring the 2002, also 92, and also 2007 Colheita. These are like the 3 Colheitas that we plan to bottle for next year for 2022. That's a fantastic question, Flash. Topped up with same thing from other barrels. Yes, as much as we can, always. We have probably, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 casks of the 94. So we are going to use one cask to top up the others, and then we put the remaining in a smaller cask. So there are some odd sizes here in the cellar. We start with 600, but then it's good to have one that is 400, another one that is 300, another one that is 200. So we can store almost full or completely full the port that we are using for top up. But sometimes that is not possible. Sometimes if it's one barrel that we have, so then or we decided to either stop topping up or convert that Colheita to then a blend of different ports, and so we can top up with something else that is in line with that Colheita, but not from the same year. So that's one of the most difficult decisions to take, is when or until when can we top up with always with the same port, with 100% the same port, or if at some point we are going to move that Colheita towards a blend of I don't know, 20, 30, 40. That's why if you come here down to the cellar, you'll see that we love to have different sizes for the casks. So for the barrels, the casks, the tonnage. The tonnage we have, I don't think we have one tonnage that are similar to, I mean, in terms of volume to any other. They all have different sizes. And that's one of the reasons. Imagine, not just for evaporation, but when the sediment of the port goes to the bottom and we want to rack, to clean that sediment and to, you're going to lose maybe 5, 6, 7% just in sediment. So you need a smaller barrel or a smaller tunnel to keep it for it to be full. So it's a lot of mental exercise, something that I'm sure Julian Wiseman would be happy to accomplish here, is the calculation on how to store, ideal ways to store the port in the different oak containers. So I think it's a few weeks ago I was talking to Jan and Heidi, amazing, super nice Danish couple, and we were talking about the Garrafeira, and they were saying something that I found it very interesting. I think this was Jan who was saying this, and he was saying, we don't have necessarily to compare the Garrafeira with the Colheita, even if they are from the same year, even if they start as being the same port, they then diverge into different directions. They took different routes, and that's the beauty of this style of the Garrafeira. We don't have to compare. We are just getting something new, something different, and that's what we have to try, is to see if we like it. But it's like we don't have to compare our two kids all the time. We can just enjoy them on their own without saying, well, this is better than this and that, or my other kid is better at sports, and something like this. It's a good point, very good point, Jacob. That could be because as the 94 was already on a more oxidative, more deeper oxidizer, when we stop it 7 years ago, we are creating a bitter gap between these two. The 2000 still has a lot of these primary notes, a lot of tannins, and so there is a bit of a difference. But maybe the biggest difference is coming for the fact that 2000 is aging in a bigger oak bin with much less exposure to oxygen than the 1994 does in the casks behind me. So as we were saying before, smaller the cask or the bin, more exposure to oxygen, faster is the aging and the transformation to tawny. It's amazing how you guys that are so geek about port, and myself included, we can discuss for almost an hour these small nuances in these four ports. It's just fantastic, and it's great to have an audience like you. Even if you are not that many, it's to people like you. It's to this kind of crowd that we love to make these special ports. Of course, it's just it's a fraction of our port production, but it's probably the one that gives us more pleasure. It's to to make it to someone that really can enjoy and have fun tasting it. So thank you, guys. The one I prefer the most, Phil, to me is the 94 Garrafeira. It has this obvious nuttiness that it gets from the first 20 years in, almost 20 years in cask. But then it gets more volume, more round, more complex. I think there are more things going on as we kind of stop this aging process. It combines the nuttiness, the oxidative notes of the oak, but also still some fruit, I like it a lot. That's cool. Let me see if I have any questions here from Fred. Yeah, why is the Garrafeira so? I mean, why it's hard to make, and not that many people are, well, basically in import and us making it. First, sourcing the right glass. This size, I don't know any glass manufacturers that is still making this size of glass. Second, it needs a lot of room to store this. It needs a cork that is quite expensive. The size of the neck is off format, and to get a cork that is like this with this width is it's a rare piece of cork, so it's hard to find it. And this is all very manual. You know, we are making, I don't know exactly, but we may have 12, 15 demijohns of each vintage. So of course that it's also for fun, for pleasure that we do, also to discover more. It's kind of a, I can call it investigation, but we definitely, it's very time and labor intensive. So that's why maybe many producers stopped making it several decades ago, and only Newport stayed. I was talking a few weeks ago, with Ana from Ramos Pinto, Ana Rosas, and she was saying that Ramos Pinto was also doing that before, maybe about 100 years ago. She was not very precise, but that's my guess. And maybe because it was hard to explain, you need to love port to want to get into these details of 7 years or 10 years in demijohn and then bottle, and so you need the right public, and you guys are a good public. Well, as you know, as Tony was mentioning before, we had 2019 vintage port bottle in the pack. Let me get it. Here it is. Do you want? Yeah, just give me your feedback. Do you want it? Do you want to taste it now, or shall we just finish and go for dinner? I'll wait like for 30 seconds, which is the lag between the recording and what you get on at your devices. In the meantime, I'll give you a quick view of our cellar. As some of you have been here before, some others I hope will come at some point soon. These are barrels and more barrels, and I don't know if you can see there, more balseiros in here, and then we have a line of tonnage, Let me see if I can show without breaking anything. More towards there. And I think I can show you if I come here. These are more tonnage, and you can see that they all have different sizes. So let me read what's your, what do you say about tasting the vintage 19 or not? Taste the vintage 19 or go home. I have the candidate. Oh, Julian is as the candidate. Hey, Garius, that's a great first comment. That's great to hear. Yeah, I would like to know what's the recommended size also for the decanter. Well, let's open this 19 vintage, definitely. Well, I think it's also going to give us some perspective on how should we consider these 2019 ports to age in the demijohns in about 6 years. So the Garrafeira has to have at least 8 years in oak, and then minimum of 7 years in the demijohns. So the youngest of it would be 15 years of age. And we are releasing the 94, which has 27, and 2000 that has 21. So, well, I don't think I need to describe that much about the 2019 vintage port. You guys are all pros. You know, it has this totally different color compared with the 4 ports that you tasted before. Do you have a 12 centiliter decanter, Julian? Can you share photos on the chat section or not really? I'd love to see it. Well, the interesting part about the 19, yeah, the 2019 is that it connects with the 2000 Garrafeira in the sense that it has, the Garrafeira 2000 still has this rough tannin, bit of this texturized tannin that is still there and gives it length to the port. Well, I think this is pretty much it. I really hope you enjoyed. It was kind of a big meeting of friends tonight. Thank you for your time. See you guys soon, either in the UK or here in our cellar. Ben, you can take a nap as well here in the sofa. Feel free, no problem. Tony, if you want to invite some others to come along and help us with bottling of the next round of Garrafeiras, feel free. And I'm looking forward to see Julia's decanter at some point, if that's possible. Bridget, have a great birthday party. And thank you for joining us today. Zach was also making very interesting questions, and I hope that I assessed them all. And is this all? Yeah, Garius. Garius, yeah, come to visit us at some point. You'll have fun. Oh, flesh. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fred. Take care, and we see each other soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.